Good evening, everyone, and welcome to day 8 of our Getting Started with Salesforce. And today is going to be the last day of revision of what we've learned in the last few days. We're going through this revision because a few people complain about not understanding certain concepts. So this last day is a revision of what we've learned on Object Manager and Lightning App Builder. So please, once again, my expectations are you would have seen the video of the last few lectures, and you would be trying to understand better with this session. This is day 8, and hopefully after this session, we should be good to go with the Salesforce platform, because after the session, we're going to be looking into individual objects, and we're going to be talking more about using the Salesforce platform. Okay, so again, I'll go through what we've learned so far. This is what we've learned so far: configuration and setup. We've learned about creating user, freezing user, licenses, login history, and the likes. Okay, and we've done security controls, object role, profile sharing. And today, majorly, we are going to be looking into objects. Okay, we've done this several times. We've done it in the last, we've done this, we've covered this in two sessions, but today we're just gonna go over it again so people that were struggling would understand better. So please try to ask as many questions as possible, but do not ask repeated questions. Make sure your questions have not been answered, so we don't waste other people's time. Let's make it very productive. Let's make it very interesting, and ultimately try to understand the concept, because after this lecture, everything else is easy. Everything else is going to be objects, is going to be fields, is going to be layouts, is going to be just making changes to those objects. Okay, so please make sure you get tonight's class and you are in charge of your Salesforce career. Having said that, please, if you are still struggling, try to attend your clinics and try to attend your tutorials. They are there to help you reinforce your knowledge and help you get a better understanding of the Salesforce platform. So without wasting much of your time, let's go straight into the learning for today. So I'm gonna go straight into my trailhead. If you're struggling with your trailhead, I will be very worried for you. If you don't know how to log into your trailhead by now, I will be very worried for you. So please watch through the video. If you want to create a new account, create a new account, but you shouldn't be struggling with this. This is the basics of Salesforce. Trying to log into Salesforce trailhead, you shouldn't have issue with it. So please, okay? So I'm logging in using my Gmail account, okay? And like I said, please do not create account from scratch. Use your Gmail, use your LinkedIn, use your Facebook. You can never misplace those passwords. They've been part of you all day, all year round. So I don't expect you to be misplacing those passwords, because if you create a new account, you're likely to misplace that password, and obviously you're going to get into trouble. Okay, so now I'm going to go to my hands-on orgs, and I'm going to launch my playground. Again, if this is your first time, just create a playground. You have 10 orgs which you can create for your hands-on orgs. If you've used everything, right? Maybe I don't know what you're doing, but if you've used everything, just disconnect this org and you'll be able to create a new playground, okay? You can disconnect this org and you'll be able to create a new playground once you've reached your limits on the number of playground you can create. So now I launch, and I'm going to land into my Salesforce org, okay? We've learned so much. We've learned so much, and today we're just gonna finalize our learning in terms of the basics, the getting started. So far, we know that this is the tabs in Salesforce, and these are objects in Salesforce: opportunities, the leads, the accounts, the contacts. They are objects in Salesforce. Now, you know that these are standard objects because they came with the hands-on hub without you having to create them. Okay, these are standard objects. Now, if you want to make changes to this standard objects, you have the liberty to do that. How do you do that? You go to Setup and you click on Setup, okay? Now, you go to Object Manager. Object Manager is where you make changes to all the objects, the ones you created, the ones that comes with the Salesforce platform. The Object Manager is where you make those changes. So now, if you want to make changes to the account objects, you go to Object Manager and you go to the account object and you make changes. Depending on the changes you want to make, you can go to the fields, you can go to page layout, you can go to all this stuff. But let's start with the basic one. This is the account object. And in the account object, what do we have? We have records. We have records. These are records inside the account object. If you click on one record, you can see the details of this record. Where do you see the details of this record? You see it here. These are the details of the record you selected in the account object. Can you see the breakdown? The first thing we have is the objects. The object stores records. These are all the records we have in the objects. And once you click on one of the records, you can see details of the records. And this is the details of the record which we clicked. So now, when you get to this detail page, this page, this detail page, as you can see the details, this is what they call the page layout. This is what they call the page layout. As you can see, in the page layout, you have what they call fields. These are fields. These fields are the fields in the account object. So how do you know where these fields are? The rating is a field. The phone number is a field. The fax is a field. The account number is a field. The website is a field. They are present in the fields and relationships of the account objects. This is where you make changes to the fields you see here. This is the fields. If you want to add more fields, you go to New and you create a new field. The type of data you want to collect will determine the field which you want to create. For instance, in the account objects, what do we have? We have account name, rating, phone number, fax, website, account site, type, industry. Now, let's say we want to collect something. What do we want to collect? We want to collect email on the account, even though we're not supposed to be collecting email on the account, we should be collecting on the contacts. But let's say we just want to collect email. Okay, I want to collect email on the account object, but right now, the account object does not have a field called email. How do I create this field? You go to the back end and you go to fields and relationships and you click on new. I want to create a new field called email. The first thing you have to select is the data type. What is the data type? The data type is the type of data you want to collect. What is the type of data you want to collect? The type of data you want to collect is the email, because email is a unique type of data. Why is it unique? It has the @ symbol. When you're collecting an email, for instance, this email at gmail.com. As you can see, at gmail.com makes it an email data type. And if you want to collect that data type, you select email as the type of data you want to collect. As you can see, you have so many options. You have so many options depending on the data type. What is an auto number data type? An auto number data type is a system-generated sequence number that uses a display format you define. For instance, if you're creating an account number and you want anytime you create a new record in the account object, you want it to be auto-numbered. That means you don't want two accounts to have the same number. You will use an auto number, or you can use a unique property of the field. But auto number gives you consistent numbering. 001, 002, 003, that's auto number. So if you want to use auto number, for instance, your account number is XYZ001, XYZ002, or ACC001, ACC002, you select this type of data type. If you want the account number to be something that is formulated based on certain information from the account name. For instance, if you want the account number, the account field that you're creating to have a combination of the account name and the account number, then you can use formula. In this instance, you can just say the formula, the account field should be account name and number, okay? But you're selecting formula, right? And you select test, meaning that I want to concatenate the account name and the account number. So you select account and you look for account name, okay? Then you use the operator, concatenate, okay? Then you select account number. So anytime a record is in that field, it's going to be a combination of the account name and the number. That's how to use formula. Okay, that's how to use formula. And if we want to go to the next data type, which is the roll-up summary. The last time I told you about the roll-up summary. The roll-up summary is when you are adding records from a related object into the account object. Okay, I will put a pause on that. Don't let us go into the roll-up summary lookup relationship for now. Let's keep this and I'll come back to that later once we get to that section. Okay, but now we know how the formula works. The formula is using existing data, bringing it together to form a new field. Okay, now checkbox. What kind of field is checkbox? The checkbox is simply a case of, is it true or false? Is it true or false? If you have a situation whereby you want to find out if this account is a premium account or a standard account, you can use what they call a checkbox. So for instance, if I want to create a new field, I can say I want a checkbox, and I'll now say if this guy is paid, okay, if this account is a paid account or not. I use a checkbox. You can define whether this is checked or unchecked as a default value, meaning that when a record is being created, it is either checked, which means true, or unchecked, which means false. Okay, so now I've created a simple field called is paid. And my expectations are is paid should appear on the page layout of the details page of the account. But let's go back to this again. I want to create an email field, okay? I go to currency. Why do you select currency? If you want to collect revenue information, you want to collect money, something that has to do with money, you will select currency. If you want to collect dates, I want to collect the last time this account was open or the first time this account was open. If I want to collect date time information, such as the dates and the time which account was created, then I use this data type. So data type determines the type of information you can collect in a field. So for this information, for instance, if I want to collect the phone number, I will select phone. If I want to collect just number, I will select number. If I want to collect a location, I'll collect geolocation. So please try to play around with this data type in your spare time and see what kind of information you can collect based on the data type. This is the most important aspect of object and data management. Because think about it. If you want to collect an information, and if you're using the wrong data type to collect that information, you will not be able to enter the right detail. Okay? So for instance, we have email. I go here and I select accounts email. Okay? I select accounts email and I click on next. I click on next and I save. So if I go back to the front end and I refresh this page, I will want to create a new account, right? I click on new. Let me look for the email. This is account email. If I type in anything that is not email, remember, this stuff is expecting an email. But if I type in anything that is not email, what did you see? It says you have entered an invalid format. You have entered an invalid format, meaning that you're trying to say you want to collect email. However, what you've entered here is not a valid email. And this is how you manage your data in Salesforce. Salesforce helps you to determine what type of data you want to collect in an object. It helps you to streamline or help you to clean up data even from the development of that object. This is an example of the checkbox. Remember, we have checked and unchecked. We select uncheck as default. That's why it's like this. If I go back to is paid, and I say, okay, I don't want is paid to be unchecked by default. I want it to be checked by default. So anytime someone wants to create a new account, is paid field will be checked. And if I refresh this page, I will be able to see, if I go back to accounts new, I'll be able to see is paid field as being checked by default. So you can see the type of data you want to create on the object really matters a lot. You can create a test field. A test field is when you want to collect first name, last name, and the like, something you want people to enter freely, like name of account. That's a test field. If you want to collect test area field, maybe you want to collect a test area field like comments, address, then you select a test area field. If you want to collect URL, like a website, if you want to collect website, something like this, website, then you will select URL. So always think about the data you want to collect before you start building any model. Okay, so now let's talk about pick lists. What are pick lists? Pick lists are predefined values. This is a pick list. This is a pick list. As you can see, if I want to enter account type, the only option I have for an account type is prospect, customer direct, customer channel, channel partner, installation partner, technology partner, and the likes. This is a pick list. This is what they call pick list. How do you create a pick list? The same way you're creating other things is the same way you're going to create a pick list. I want to select, I want to say, in Blackforce, we have different customer type, right? I'll just say customer. Then I will enter the values of that pick list. I will say basic, standard, professional. That is pick list. You separate them using the line and you enter those pick list value. Then you click on next. You click on next and you save. That's pick list. Pick list gives you predefined values. Predefined values you want users to enter. Now, let me refresh this page and you click on new. and you go to account type, right? Customer type, sorry. Customer type. Let me look for customer type. Okay, let me refresh this so you can kick in. Let me make sure that we have it, customer. So this is customer, right? And let me edit this just to make sure that we have it. Save. And you can check field level just to make sure that we have it on the system admin. That's fine. And save. And I go back here, refresh this just to make sure that we have the changes. And close, go to account, new. Customer type is not covered up. Let me check the page layout. Just give me 1 minute. Page. On the accounts, I want to bring the customer, okay? Customer. This is customer. And let me do preview just to see what a system administrator would see when they want to enter customer. And anytime you make changes like this, you might not see the changes. You might not see the change you're making immediately, okay? Don't worry about that. If you do preview, that's when you can see the changes. As you can see, there is no customer here. Oh yeah, oh no, this is customer. So as you can see that customer is present. I'm not just looking at the right place. So let me refresh this page. And sometimes you can walk in incognito mode, so you see the changes immediately, okay? So this is customer, it's coming up right now, okay? We have basic, standard, and professional. As you can see, this is a predefined value. Pick lists are predefined value, meaning that there is no way anyone would enter any data in the system for customer that is not basic, that is not standard, or professional. It has to be either of these ones. It can never be anything outside of basic, standard, and professional. That's what pick list is all about. Pick list data type will determine what options you have to select from. Okay, so play around with all this. Multi-select pick list is where you can select 2 options at the same time. Okay, pick list select 1, multi-select select 2. Now that we understand that concept of fields, there is this other aspect of fields, and it's called relationships. But before we get to relationship, let's go to page layouts. Let's go to page layouts. I go to the details of this account. I told you this is the page. This is what they call the page layout of this account. This is the page layout of this account. What is a page layout? The page layout is just how the records, the fields are being displayed in the front end. So if you want rating to be here and you want account number to be here, just do it on the page layout. If you want everything to be on the left-hand side, do it on the page layout. This is what they call the page layout. It's on the details page. This is the page layout of the account. So now, if you go to account layout, you can see the information you want the user to see on the details page here. Account owner, account name, parent account, account number. Account owner, account name, parent account, account number. So the page layout determines the fields you want to show in the front end. As an admin, you have the liberty to control what fields you want to display. Everything can be adjusted. Look at this panel. This panel will determine whether you want a 1-column page layout or a 2-columns page layout. This panel can determine the tab order, whether you want people to, whenever they press their tab on the keyboard, does it go right, then left and right, or does it go down, then to the other side? What do I mean by that? When you're entering information and you start with this, if I press tab on my computer, it goes to the field on the right-hand side. If I press tab again, it goes to the next one on the left-hand side. Tab again, it goes to the right. Okay? That is what this stuff is saying. Does it go right, left, right? Or does it go down, then to the other side? Okay? So that's what is that. And account information is a section name. Account information. That's a section name. Okay? So you can determine or you can change it if you want to. Now, this is how you customize your page layout. But one thing you would observe in the page layout is this. It is assigned to, is giving you 3-page layouts, meaning that you can have a different page layout for different sets of people in the system. How do you do that? You manage that using the profile. Like I told you the last time, the profile determines what the user can see. You can even control how this page layout looks for different profiles in the system. So looking at this, you have the marketing layout, you have the sales layout, you have the support layout, you have the account layout. This is what Salesforce has given you out of the box. But if you don't like it, you can go to page layout assignment. The page layout assignment, as you can see, you go on the left-hand side, you see the profile. On the right-hand side, you see the layout for that profile. Meaning that our system administrator is using what? Account layout, account page layout. And our basic user is using account page layout. Let's change this. I want to edit it. I want our basic user to be using sales page layout. I want our basic user to be using sales page layout. So the system admin layout would look different. Look at, this is system admin page layout, right? If someone with a basic profile should log in, they are going to see the sales page layout. Let's make it unique. I'm going to take off all this stuff away from the basic page layout. I will keep it simple. So I don't want any basic user to see all this information. The only thing they will see is this, okay? I save. Remember, we have changed it. We have changed the profile of the basic user to use the sales page layout. So now, if I log in as a user of a basic profile, if I log in as a user that has a basic profile, can you see? I log in as that user, they would only see the basic account details page. They will not see what the admin can see. Okay, let's refresh this so it kicks in. Sometimes if the admin session is active, it will not show. So let me log in using a Cognito. That's the best way to actually test it, because sometimes if you don't have, if you have 2 active sessions, it's going to be taking the one that is persistent, okay, that is persisting. So I'll just copy the username here, okay, and I know you probably cannot see my screen. Can you guys see just 1 minute? Let me confirm with you guys. Can you guys see my incognito screen? Co-host, please. Can you guys see my incognito screen?
No.
Okay. Yeah, because a cognito screen wasn't shared. So let me just refresh this and see if it kicks in. Okay, I have to log in. Don't worry, let me log in. I will log out from this session and I'll share my, let me see if I can just log in again. And let me use my Blackfrost password for this. Just give me 1 minute. So, I'm just trying to get my password because it's been a while. I log in through that and let me just forget password. So I just log in using the other accounts. I go to accounts, I go to Burlington, Texas, and I go to details page. Did I assign this user should go to details? Okay, let me check this again. It shouldn't be saying this, but let me check. Log out. I log in as an admin just to make sure that that session persists. Accounts, page layouts, sales page layouts. Yeah, it should persist. Just give me 1 minute, okay? Okay, so what happened was, if you look at this page layout, okay, let me show you. I think it persists, we just didn't get it. So if I log in as test user and I go to the account objects and I go to a details page, okay, it's asking me for billing address, shipping address, customer priority and everything, which is what we should be expecting, okay? So this is this guy, a basic user, and as you can see, it's asking for account owner, account name, parent account. Then the next thing is billing address and the likes, okay? So if I log out and I log in as an admin, you will see that admin would have a different view, which is this. Details, account owner, account name, parent account, and the likes, okay? So that's the impact of selecting a different page layout for the user, okay? So I'm gonna take a pause here to find out if you guys get this, because it's very important going forward. For now, I've introduced you to fields and fields only and page layout. And you can assign a page layout based on a profile. So you know what fields are, you know what data type are in a field, and you know what page layout is, and you know how to assign different page layouts based on profile. So let's ask questions based on that before we continue. I want you guys to get this, okay? So if you have any questions regarding what we've learned in the last 30 minutes, can you please raise your hand so I can explain to you what this is all about, okay? So I'll call you in accordance to how you raise your hand up. So please raise your hand up so I can call you if you have any question regarding what we've learned so far. I don't want you guys to miss anything. Toyin, unmute yourself and speak.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I know I understand this to this level. I'm just trying to ask questions regarding relationships.
Can you ask questions regarding what I just taught you guys right now, please?
Okay. Sorry.
Okay, so everything is good right now, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. Laura, can you unmute yourself and speak, please?
Good evening. I'm not too clear on how you can use the formula as a data type.
Okay, we're going to do an example of that right now. We're going to do an example of that right now, okay? TY, can you unmute yourself and speak?
Hello, hi. So the question I have isn't necessarily to do with the processes, but more of the aesthetic of the page layout. And earlier you said the admin can choose which layout they want the page to display, but then that got me thinking, isn't it usually the organization that determines the look they want to go for, and then the admin works with that? Or is it that in this case, because it's Salesforce, that the admin decides?
So I did not talk about look and feel. I talk about the arrangement of these fields. So in terms of whether the business decides, it's irrelevant to the understanding of what you can do as an admin. I'm teaching you to become a Salesforce admin, meaning that if the business says tomorrow, ratings should be placed here and account name should be placed here, you should be able
which
to
is what I'm asking. But my understanding when you made that statement was the admin decides, and I just want to be clear whether truly the admin decides or the admin follows the look the organization goes for. Obviously, the admin is going to have they have the knowledge on the back end of the application and where the information is and what they want to make visible and what's going to be restricted. I understand all of that, but you know, someone could go in thinking, oh, I have the right to create this look, when it's not necessarily the case. And that's all I want to.
Oh, okay, okay,
on.
I get.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. But again, I just want to make sure that you can do it if you're being called to do it. Whether the business decide whether they want this to be done or not, that's a different thing. The BA would let you know. Sure. But okay, make sure that you know how to do it, because your project would require you to do it, and I would make sure that you can do it before you can successfully graduate from this training. Okay?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
No worries. Day8, unmute yourself and speak, please. Day8, can you unmute yourself and speak?
Oh, sorry, thank you. I was struggling with the system. Sorry, it's the page layout that we're talking about, the last thing you talked about. In the process of trying to check the things, it got mixed up a bit there. While you were trying to see and refresh, I mean, I got lost a bit there. If I wouldn't mind if you can help again in that regard. The page layout, the last part that you were talking about, when you were, I mean, assigning the page layout to profile, something like that.
Okay, have you tried it? Because we've done this. This is a revision class.
Yes, so, I have done it, but I just, what you were doing, I mean, it's like consolidating knowledge, actually.
Yeah, let me show you. So we have the object manager. We go to the objects, okay? And we go to the page layouts. Now, the basic user, we want the basic user to have a different page layout. and we want the admin to have a different page layout. How do we do that? We click on page layout assignment. Can you see this page layout assignment? We click on it and we edit assignments. Okay, you edit assignment. Then you look for the basic profile, the basic user profile. Can you see? You will now change the page layout for the basic user to what you want it to be. Then you look for the system admin profile. Then you will change the system admin profile for the layout you want to use. Then you save. That's how you assign different page layouts based on profile. And if you want to test it, you have to go to the user and log in as that user to see what they can see. That's all. Okay? Does that help you, Debo?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
No worries. Babs Ken, please.
Babatope, how are you doing, sir?
Good, good.
Okay. So mine is the question obviously is just clarification. I think I have the idea, but I just want to confirm that's exactly what my thought process is. Is on pick list. If you don't mind, can we go to pick list in the object manager?
Okay, so we go to pick list, we go to object manager, we go to any objects, we go to fields and relationship. Then if you want to create a new pick list, you will select pick list. Okay? Now that you select pick list, you will click on next. Okay? You give it whatever name you want to give it. Okay? Then you can either use global pick list value or you enter the values of the pick list you want. For instance, you can enter basic, standard, professional, or you can enter whatever you want. However, you can also use a global pick list value set. Global pick list value set is when you have a predefined pick list. The advantage of global pick list value set is you can use it across multiple objects. For instance, I can go to global, pick list. Okay, pick list value sets. Then I will create a global pick list value set. Let's call it customers in system. Okay, just for clarification's sake, standard, then professional. Okay, so now I've created a global value set. Next time I'm working on something that has to do with customers, I can use that instead of having to create my own pick list. So I'm going to create pick list, and instead of entering my values here, I'll just use what I have created before, customers in the system. So it's going to use that global pick list instead of me having to enter it one after the other. That's the difference. And when you go to the front end, you will see that pick list there. It helps you to restrict the type of values you can enter for customer type. Does that help, Babs Kenny?
Sorry, excellent.
Okay,
that's really I like the global pick list idea. But you said that when it sees like that, even though I've used it in account now, I can also use it, say, for example, I'm just making this of cases, for example.
Yes, yes, you can use it in other objects, not just the account object.
Correct.
Okay.
Because I already have predefined it already.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Titilayo, unmute yourself and speak, please.
Okay, just as a follow-up to Bab's question, can we then pull out reports across different objects with this global pick list?
What do you mean by pull out reports?
So if I'm going to report and I want to know, like, if for example, customer is the custom field, right? And so it's not in cases, right? So if I want to pull up reports of accounts and cases together, will I get like will I get the field that I want in cases and accounts? I don't know if you know what I mean. No.
I don't know what you mean, but we haven't gotten to reports
Okay,
yet.
all
I
right.
want us to
So
ask questions based on what we've just done.
Okay, Jay, yeah, so that's fine. My question is so much like, I see you moving between the object manager and then the tabs. And I kind of want to know, like, did you open instances of the tabs and the object manager, or?
I just opened two tabs, Object Manager tab and the front end. So I'm just
at the
working.
front end. Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, no worries. Now let's go back to Laura's question. Laura said she wants to find out how the formula works. So the formula, as you can see, the formula is based on existing field values. Okay, it's based on existing field values. What do I mean by that? Right now, we have account name, we have account number, we have rating, we have website, we have everything else. Okay, so now let's say we want to say we want to find a new field that would give us not just the account name, but it's going to be a combination of the account name or the account number. You go to the object manager, you click on new, and you go to formula. You select formula as a type of data type. Okay, the data type you want. Then you say account name number. Okay, it's just us just creating this up. It doesn't have to be account name number, but it could be anything. Okay, then we say we want text, but remember, this is me making up a formula. A formula is a read-only field. It is predetermined based on the information you're given at that instance, meaning that I can write a formula that would make a Boolean true or false. As you can see, if today is greater than close date, make it true. Otherwise, false. I can do that. But this is an easy formula we're just writing right now. We're bringing the value inside two fields together. We're bringing the value of the account name, insert operator, then the account number, next, and save. That's the formula in theory. The formula just brings conditions together based on what you currently have. Based on what you currently have, you're creating a formula. So if you refresh this page, you'll be able to see the value. Sometimes the refresh takes a while, but you're able to see the value of the account name and the account number brought together. Okay, so now there is more to formula than just what I've shown you. If you click on formula again, you can see that you have this option. For instance, you can say if today is greater than close date, do this. If today is less than close date, do this. That's also formula. You can also say if reminder date equals close date minus 7, for instance, you want to get a formula value. And if you want to learn more about, I don't want you guys to go deep into formula because it's not an admin area. So if you want to learn about Salesforce formula, you can learn more using this formula trailhead. It's going to tell you how you can use formula. But again, because it's not really an admin stuff, I don't want to overwhelm you with non-admin stuff, okay? So if you want, you can get formula field populated. But one thing you should know is that formula fields are determined based on that instance when the record is being created. For instance, if you don't have account name and account number, if you don't have those two, you only get what the account name is. If it is null, then the formula field value will be null because there is no account name and account number present. But then again, I don't think there's any record in the system that does not have the name present. Okay. So I think I'm not sure if your project will require formula, but if it gets there, please try to use this trailhead to learn more about formula. Okay. So now let's carry on. Let's carry on because we want to talk about the relationships in the fields and relationships section. Now, I've talked to you, I've discussed about fields and the data type you can create in fields. And I've talked to you about page layouts, okay? And how you can assign different page layouts based on the profile. Let's talk about relationships. What are relationships? Relationships are association of two objects. Association of two objects. And you can find the association of account objects in the related tab of the account record page. This is the details page layout. This is the related section. So if account is related to other objects, this is where you will find it. For instance, our account is related to contacts. Our account is related to opportunities. Account is related to cases. You can see that the relationship is on the related tab. What are relationships? Relationships are just a way of building data model. This account is like a data. When you now bring two together, you're building a data model. And relationships is what enables that. In Salesforce, we have different types of relationships. Let's go to the object manager and let's go to, let's say we have cases, for instance, and we go to fields and relationships. We click on new. We have what they call lookup relationship. Lookup relationship is an instance whereby you have two objects linked together, but they are loosely connected. They are loosely connected, meaning one can do without the other one. Same with let's say we have a contact object. Okay, if you go to fields and relationships, you can create a new and you will see lookup relationships. Okay, and there's also external lookup, but don't worry yourself too much about external lookup. But external lookup is a situation whereby you want to link an object to an external object whose data is stored outside of the Salesforce org. Meaning that if you want to connect Salesforce with a legacy object, legacy database, and you want to get the primary key of that object, you want to link it up with your Salesforce object, then you use external lookup. Okay, there's a bit of work that needs to be done for external lookup, but the internal lookup you can easily do. Let's start with a very simple model whereby we have a student and we have exam record. When it comes to relationship, we want to associate a student and its exam record together. How do we do that? We use what they call relationships. Relationships helps us to join two objects together. Let's start by creating a very simple, let's create a very simple student object, okay? Student, which is just a custom object we are creating. This is how you create a custom object. If you have a plural of the object label, you just add S to it, okay? But if you don't have a plural, just keep it the same name, the same label. If it starts with a vowel sound, you check this, okay? Let me go back again and show you. You go to the right-hand side and you click on custom object. So whatever we've been showing you since is just standard objects. Everything here is standard object, but if you want to create your own object, which does not exist before in Salesforce, you create what they call a custom object. And we have a student, which is like a sample object we're trying to create. Then we can determine whether we want it to be student name as the primary key, or we want it to be student number. This is very crucial when it comes to record creation. As you can see, when you're creating an account record, you specify the account name. You specify the account name because it's a required field. It's one of the required fields for creating the account record. So if you want to create a student object and you want it to have definitely a student name, it is ideal for you to specify student name. Whereas if you want it to be like, okay, I want it to be student number as a primary key, then you don't have to use student name. You can just use student number. Then you can say it's an auto number, meaning that we cannot have two student number present in the student object. So every time we create a new student record, it's going to be an increasing number depending on the format you've chosen. So for instance, I can say students, okay, 001, no, 000, and the starting number is 1. Meaning that if I create a new student, it's going to be 0001. The next one will be 0002. This is a decision you have to make from the model development. Okay, if you don't get it, if you miss this step, you can still change the data type, which is fine, but ideally you should be determining the type of arrangement you want for the student object. Okay, so now that we have this, we've created a simple object called students, and we've created just one field, because this is by default, we need to have at least one field for that object. But now that we've called that field student number, let's create another field called student name. We want it to be student name, okay? What kind of data type would I select? I'm going to select test. Why? Because it's just going to be student name. If it's going to be student number, then you could have selected student number. But we already have a student number. We don't need to have that again. Okay? So I'm selecting test field because I want to collect the student name. And I click on next. And I put a student name. Okay? 50. What is the character? The length you can enter. This is the length. If it's longer than 50, it's going to say stop. But obviously, you can use more than 50. I think the max you can use here is 255. Okay? But let's keep it simple. We're saying it's 50, and that's good. The next thing you would see is this. Is this a required field? If you're creating a new account, you will see something that is asterisk, the red asterisk, meaning that this field is required. This field is required. So if you want a field to be required, you will select required, meaning that you cannot create a new student without a student name. This is part of building model. You cannot create a student without a student name. Now, do you want all students in the system to be unique? This is subjective. It is possible to have 3 Babatope Olajide in the school. Why would you want to make them unique? However, if the requirement says no 2 email addresses in the system to be unique, then you can select the uniqueness of the field. Uniqueness is used to determine whether you can have 2 student name, 2 email addresses, 2 student number, 2 phone number, or whatever it is that you don't want to be. You don't want to be a duplicate in the system. You select unique. This is how you build a data model. External ID, like I said earlier, is used for external system, mostly in a lookup relationship. External lookup relationship, but is used for external system, meaning that if I want a legacy system to be bringing in data into the student objects, what would be this field? What would be the primary key from that external system? What would it be in my student object? So you select this to identify that the data that is coming in into this field is a primary key from an external or legacy system. But because we're not importing data, we don't need to select this. Okay, so now I click on next, and I click on next, and I save. So now I have two fields in my student object. I have two fields in my student object. Now I want to go back to my object manager to see the difference between the student object I created and my existing object. As you can see, my existing object, I cannot edit these objects. Standard objects cannot be edited. They are created by default when you launch a new Salesforce org. However, my student object, custom object, which is shown here, can be edited. It has the edit button enabled. It has the edit button enabled. Okay, so how do you edit a standard object if it cannot be edited? How do you edit it? You cannot edit a standard object. However, you can rename the standard object. For instance, if it's not called account in your business, you can call it something else. How do you do that? You go to Home and you go to Tabs and Labels, whereby you can rename tabs and labels in the system. Remember, you use this to rename your standard objects, and you can determine to rename your custom object as well if you want, but you don't need to go through this channel to rename your custom object. If I click on edit here, I can change account to maybe clients. Okay, I can change it to clients, and I can change all account fields to clients and the likes. So next time I go to my front end, this is no longer going to be called accounts, but clients. If you enter in new accounts, instead of this being account name, it's going to be client name. That's how to rename a standard object, because you cannot edit a standard object. You can only rename the fields in a standard object. So as you can see, we have the type called standard objects. However, for our students, we have what they call the custom objects. In addition to that, the custom object has _C. So if you look at your standard object, you wouldn't see anything like _C. Whereas for the custom object, you will see _C. Okay, so now that we know that that's a custom object, let's create another custom object called exam records. Okay, how do we do that? We go to create custom objects, and we type in exam record. And for the plural, we type in exam records. Okay, so now that we have that, this I'm going to leave like this. Okay, and I'm going to click on save. Now we've created a new object called exam records. And if you can see, you go to students, you see custom objects, you go to exam, you see custom objects. If you have created a new object, it does not appear automatically on the tabs. It does not appear automatically on the tabs. You have to bring it to this tab. And the profile which you have determines whether you get to see this object on the tabs or not. So the first thing you need to do when you create a new custom object is to go to Home and go to Tabs. I want to bring custom object to the tabs. Then I click on New. Then I select the object I created, and I click on Next. I ask myself, which of these profiles should be using these custom objects? This is where you select this. You select whether you want this object to be visible to all profiles or not. As you can see, anything you do in Salesforce is associated to the profile. This is why I told you profile is the God. It determines what you can see, what you can do. Anytime you cannot see anything or do anything, ask yourself, what profile permits me to do this? Does my profile allow me to do this? If no, check your profile and enable it for that profile. When I'm creating tabs, I decide, okay, for this profile, I want this object to appear on the tabs. In addition to that, this is the application, sales application. This is service application, marketing application, community application. When you're adding objects to the tabs, you control at a profile level and you also control at the application level. Do I want to add this object to this application? That is what Salesforce is asking us here. Previously, it was asking us, do I want to add this object to this profile? Next is asking us, do I want to add this object to these applications? These are the applications. Okay? And I said, okay, yes, I want to add it to this application. Alternatively, I can take it off. Then I save. Then I do that for the next record, which is the student record. And I say the same thing. I want to add it to the profile and I want to add it to the application. Then I save. So next time I go to the sales application, if I refresh, I should be able to see my student and exam records. That's the first step when you create a new custom object, because custom object by default do not get shown on the tabs. You have to add them. Remember, you go to tabs to add them, okay? So now that we have that custom object on the tabs, okay? We have the student. Let's create a sample student. Student name, Babatope Olajide, save. Let's create a sample exam record. Sample exam record, physics, save. Okay, so now we have this. I would like to create another field on the exam record called grade. Okay, I go to the exam record and I create a new field. And I want to create a grade. What would a grade be? A grade is percent, right? I click on percent as data type and I click on next and I say grade, or I can say student grade, okay? Student grade. Then I click on next and I click on next and I save. So anytime I have exam record, I should be able to have the student grade as well, okay? 80, save. And if I want to enter another exam record, I can say chemistry. Then I'll say 95 grade, okay? This is an object. This is an object. Student is an object. Exam record is an object. When you create a new student, because we use auto number, it is student 0001. The next student I'm going to create, John Doe, would have what? Student 002. This is what they call auto number. It is unique in the system. Now, if I want to build a model, if you go to related tab of this, there is nothing there. There is nothing associated to the student. There is no relationship between exam records and students. And if you go to the schema builder, that allows you to visualize relationship in the system. The schema builder that allows you to visualize relationship in the system. If I clear all and I just bring the students and I bring the exam record to view, you will see that there is no relationship between student and exam records. Go to related tab, there is no relationship. So what are relationships in Salesforce? Relationship, like I said earlier, associate two objects together. Relationship associate two objects together. There is what they call the lookup relationship that associate two objects together without a strong connection between the two objects, meaning that I can have a student record and I can have an exam record, and I can have a student and exam record together if I want. That's lookup. I don't care. Lookup relationship is I don't care relationship, meaning that I can do without the other. And there's this other relationship called master detail relationship. The master detail relationship is a relationship that is dependent on the other, meaning that I cannot have exam record until I have a student that owns that exam record. That is master detail relationship. It is connected. It is dependent on the other objects. So now, if you have this kind of relationship, what would be the master and what would be the detail? What would be the parent and what would be the child? Always think about it from a dependency point of view. Which one comes first, the chicken or the egg, the student or the exam record? Think about it. Which one comes first? The student needs to come first before you can have exam record. Ask yourself that question. Which one comes first? The student or the exam record? Can I have an exam without a student? No. The student writes the exam. The student owns the exam records. So I need to have a student before the exam record. Then guess what? Make the student the master. Make the student the parent. And make the exam record the detail. Make the exam record the child. Because I can do without the exam record, but I cannot do without the students. So how do you create that relationship of parent-child? You go to the child. You go to what? The child. That is where you create the master detail relationship. You create it on the child objects. As you can see, we have lookup, we have master detail relationship. Once I click on master detail relationship, which creates a special type of parent-child relationship between these objects, the child or the detail, and another object, the parent or master, where the relationship field is required on the details record, meaning that I cannot create without the master. The ownership and the sharing of the detail record are determined by the master, meaning whatever relationship I have on the student object would be controlling the detail. So if the master is create, read, edit, delete for that profile, this exam record would automatically be create, read, edit, delete. Okay, that's what it means. When a user deletes the master record, all records are deleted, meaning that if I delete the student from the system, there should be no exam record lingering anywhere connected to that student. Everything will be deleted. You can create a roll-up summary field on the master record to summarize all the records in the child record. We're going to do that shortly. So now I'm selecting a master detail relationship. Where am I? I'm on the exam record. The child is where I go to. Then I select a master detail and I go and select the student objects. That is how I create a relationship between the students and the exam record. Okay? And remember, you cannot create this kind of relationship if you have an existing record in the system. So you have to delete that dummy record which you've created so you can create it. Because how would you create a relationship that you already have a bad record in the system? You cannot do that, right? you have to delete all those records before you can create that relationship, or just turn it to lookup. By delete, since you have limited numbers, just delete it. This is why you need to design your solution before you start going into the Salesforce. You need to design that solution before you start going into the Salesforce. So now I want to create that relationship again. I go to New. I select Master Detail Relationship. I select the students. And I click on Next. Then I go to Next. I save. So now, if I go back to my schema builder, that shows me, you can go to schema builder from the object manager, okay? Or you can just type it here, schema builder, whichever one you feel like. Can you see the relationship right now? The relationship has come up. The relationship says that I have a master detail relationship, the red one, meaning that look at where this many is, like 3 stuff, where it's going into the other object. It shows many, 1 to many, 1 student to many exam record, master details, parent, child. This is what they call relationship in Salesforce. You have related the student with the exam record. So now, if I go back to the front end and I want to create a student, I have the liberty to create a student. I still don't have any restriction because student is the boss. Student controls the flow. However, if I want to create an exam record, I will need to select a student. This is where the relationship comes in. It is compulsory, it is required, because without the student, there is no exam record. Without the student, there is no exam grade. The student needs to own this exam record. Okay, so if I go back to the students, if I go to the related tab of the students, I'll be able to see the exam record. Similarly, if I go to exam records, create another exam records, physics, and I say 85 grade, but I still associate it to this guy. I save. Now, this guy, this student has 2 exam records. Click on the student, go to related tab, you see 2 exam records. This is what they call the child, and this student is the parents. This is one type of relationship and it's called the master detail relationship. The other type of relationship is called what? The lookup. The lookup relationship is a relationship that is loosely connected. It is not compulsory. It is not necessary. If I want it, I have it. If I don't want it, I don't have it. For instance, I can call it departments. If I have an object which stores departments in the school, I can create a new object and I'd say create object, custom object called departments. Okay, and I say departments. Is it a vowel sound? No, it's D, is not a vowel sound. So I save. So this is a department and we have just one field. That's fine. Department name. So what is a lookup? A lookup relationship is when 2 objects are related, but those 2 objects can do without each other. Those 2 objects can do without each other, meaning that I can decide to have a department when I'm creating a student or not. This student can belong to a department or not. So how do you associate the student object with the department? The same way. Okay, however, this time around, because you want to associate the student to a department, you go to the students. When you're doing the master detail, you go to the child to go and associate. But when you're doing a lookup, you look for what relationship you want to associate. Where do you want to select departments when you're creating a new student? So you go to the student. This is where I want to select department. So I want to create a new field called lookup relationship. The lookup relationship creates a relationship that links this object to another object. The relationship field allows users to click on the lookup icon to select a value from a pop-up list. The other object is the source of the values. The department is a source of the value, but I don't need that source if I don't want it. It is not required. It is not compulsory. I just want to associate it. And I select the department. Now that I've selected the department, look at, here is the most important thing here. Okay, the most important thing here is this. If you want to make sure that they always have department, then you can make it required. This is where you make lookup a required lookup. But this option is not compulsory for a lookup. This option is not compulsory. If you make this option, if you check this option, then you're literally turning it into a closely coupled relationship, but you don't want that. Okay, then you save. You've created a lookup. That's it. You've created a lookup between a student and a department. And if you go back to your schema builder, you'll be able to see the relationship. Previously, we have student exam. Let me bring up departments. And we have department. As you can see, it is a blue line. One department can belong to many students. A student has one department. One department can belong to many students. When you see that 3 stuff going in there, just know that this one can have many days. This one can have many days. So now let's see what happens when we want to create a new student. I refresh and I click on new. I say this is Jane Mary. And guess what? Department, you have to select it. But there is no asterisk close to it, meaning that it is not required. I created a new department called engineering. I save. Now I select engineering, but it is not required. That's what they call a lookup relationship. It's not required. It is not required. Okay, so now I'm going to take a pause here before I continue, but I would like to find out if you guys have any questions for this particular section I've just explained, relationships, master detail lookup relationship. Please only ask questions regarding what I have just explained in this section. Okay, raise your hand up and I'll call you one after the other. Perhaps, Kenny, can you unmute yourself and speak, please?
Oh, am I? I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. I thought I was on mute already.
Okay.
Oh, okay. No, I was just, I didn't even realize that my hand was still raised. I'm sorry. Yeah, but I mean, the lookup relationship, the way you describe it, it doesn't have any dependency at all. That's the first, is loosely coupled according to you, right? And because it's loosely coupled, I can come up with anything as long as the relationship, you don't have to be tied to each other, basically, right? I can think of something. I'm trying to find another example other than the one you often use in the class to see if there's another one that can be created, obviously, to allow my learning to be expanded. And I'm thinking about a doctor and an hospital, for example. A doctor can be associated with so many hospitals, right? But it doesn't mean that it's dependent on one particular hospital. Would that be something in a lookup relationship?
A doctor can be what, sorry?
A doctor can be associated with so many hospitals, like so many hospital system, right? Maybe he's a consultant, maybe he's a gynecologist, for example. You don't have to necessarily be associated with just one hospital. the relationship is not tied. They could have their own private practice. They could also maybe have some specialist hospital they will go to, right?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
I try to find examples outside what you're using to allow me to understand it better.
Yes. So everything depends on what you want to achieve, because there could be a situation whereby a doctor can only work for one hospital, maybe like a government hospital or something like that. So it depends on what you're trying to achieve. What you're trying to achieve from the business determines the kind of model you want to implement. Does that help? Okay.
It does. Thank
Okay,
you.
good. Yeah. Larry, unmute yourself and speak, please.
Okay, thank you, Babatope. So please, it was in this session you talked about tabs. Can I ask a question on tabs, please?
Yes, please. Yeah.
All right, thank you. So I noticed something. One of the module we treated, one of the earlier module we treated, when you try to create a custom, when you told us to create a custom object, I don't know if you can just go to custom, try to create a custom object so I can show you. Okay, now go to the very bottom of this page. It asks us to click on this last box, Launch New Custom tab. So when I clicked on that, we were creating a custom object for properties and I think offers. So it was just right now I realized that if you click on that, you would have that tab showing on all of the objects and on all of the apps. So I just got blown away now that you said we could just go through the tabs and select the apps we wanted to show on and the objects. Now, my aim of asking this question now, I'm trying to now take up those objects away from the other apps that were not necessary, and I saw that I couldn't do it. So do I have to like delete the whole object again and now re-enter using the tabs function? I don't know if you understand.
No, one thing about Salesforce is that there are so many ways you can do things. Don't limit it to one way. Like I can go to field accessibility, like field level security from field accessibility, and I can go from the object and just view the fields as well and do the field accessibility. Do you get what I mean? I can do things differently depending on where and how comfortable I am with the Salesforce platform. So if you want to launch the tabs immediately and start configuring the tabs, go ahead and do that. But if you want to wait until you create all the custom objects and create the tabs associated with it, go ahead and do that. One thing I will just let you know is that you don't have to delete an object before you create the tabs. If you made a mistake, you can go to where you've made that mistake and make changes to that mistake. Remember, profile determines everything. So if you cannot see something, go to the profile. If you go to the profile, you can see the default settings. If you go to profiles, for instance, you can see the default settings of the tab right on the profile. Look at this. Default of the custom application. Do you want it visible? You can uncheck it. Go to the tabs. This is the default settings of the tab. Can you see?
Yes.
Everything is here. So if you've made any mistake, you can always go to where you made that mistake and correct it. Okay? So don't be limited or don't be rigid when it comes to Salesforce. There are so many ways you can do things. Okay?
Okay. Yeah, that helps a lot. Thank you so much.
No worries. Toyin, on you, please.
Okay, hi, and good evening once again. I just want to ask questions regarding relationships that have to do with many-to-many relationships. An example that actually came to mind is if we have opportunities and products and they are kind of standalone, how do we bring these two together? Because I know you have talked about one-to-many, but I've not heard you talked about many-to-many. I don't know if that's
I did not talk about many-to-many because when I thought one-to-many and one to this thing, you guys got confused. Many-to-many is something else. So I wouldn't teach you one thing and get you more confused again. I want to make sure that you guys understand what I've taught, because this is the basics of admin. If you're going into developer, then we can start doing many-to-many, but I wouldn't teach you many-to-many right now. However, to answer your question, you need to create what they call a junction object. A junction object will bring two master detail relationships together. For instance, if you have student and exam record, then you have product and order, you can create what they call a sales object. A sales object will bring product and order together, and student and exam record together. That's what they call a many-to-many relationship. When two master detail relationship comes together to form a junction object, when two master detail relationships are combined together with an object, they form a junction. That object is called a junction object, and that's how you create relationships between one object with the other object. And that relationship is called many-to-many. But I don't want to introduce that to you because you need to understand the basics for your admin. This is what admin is all about. But when we get to consultant, when we get to sales application, when we get to developer and app builder, then I will teach you other things if it's something you're required to know. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Secondly, under the home tab, is there a way as an admin we can always configure it such objects, those setup, not this one, setup. Yes, that. Is there a way as an admin we can create a favorite list? Most of the things that we use frequently instead of searching and stuff. Is there a way we can create
the searching is very easy, right? It's very easy, but there is no way. I don't think there's any way we can do that.
Yeah.
Okay? But the searching is very easy. I've been using this search for like 5 years and I don't complain about it. But anyway, you might be thinking you're losing where things are. But that's why you use your this thing, right? Just use your browser and click on add to favorite or bookmark so you don't miss it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? Yeah, no worries. Joe, please unmute yourself and speak. Joe.
Okay, I think you've just touched on it. She asked a question just now. It was about relationship for master data relationship. If you could possibly link a child and two different parents together. Well, you said you won't go deep into it.
Yeah, no worries. Olumide, please unmute yourself and speak.
Hi, Babatope, how are you doing today?
Good.
Yeah, I just want to touch briefly on the master detail relationship. If I could remember, you said we cannot have a master detail relationship on standard objects. Is that correct?
Sorry, repeat that again. I did not get that.
Can we have a master detail relationship with the two standard objects? Let's say
there are exceptions to this. Okay, you can only have master detail when the master is a standard. However, if you look at the account and contacts, they are both standard, right? So you see that they're not really master detail relationship, but just special type of relationship. Account and opportunity, they're special type of relationship, but in your own special way or custom data modeling. Always think about it from that point of view. You cannot have a standard as the child of a master detail relationship. The standard needs to be on the master side and the custom object needs to be on the child side. Okay?
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. MRDSF, unmute yourself and speak, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. So you talk about not being able to build the master detail on objects on fields that already have records. But I was just thinking, if you create a lookup first. So my first question is, can you convert a lookup to a lookup relationship to a master detail? Can you do the conversion from a lookup to a master detail?
Yeah, you can do that, but the detail needs to have a record. Okay. So there needs to be a record in place, then you can do that.
Okay, So if you can convert a lookup to a master detail, right? That means I can add I can make a relationship onto an existing field that have records by first creating a lookup and then converting it to a master detail.
Yes, that was what I said. I said we can do that. However, because we have just smaller records, it's easier to just delete and recreate those records than to be creating lookup, then you now create master detail.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. I thought you had mentioned that when they have records, you have to delete those records first. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Okay, no worries. Yeah. Chairman, please. Chairman Richards, please.
Hi, Babatope. Good evening.
Evening.
When you were doing the lookup relationship, there was something you said about leaving a box unchecked that it will create closed coupled something. I missed that line of thought, so I just wanted you to repeat that.
Okay, so there was a required fields when we were creating the lookup relationship. And I said, if you click on that required fields, you're essentially turning that lookup into a rigid lookup such that there is always going to be data in there, right? And it defeats the entire purpose of a lookup relationship, because lookup relationship should be very easy to, for instance, look at this. If I want to create a new student, the department is not required. This is a lookup relationship, but if you make it required, it's no longer really that, it doesn't have that properties of a lookup relationship anymore, because it's now required, it's now very rigid compared to when you're doing the exam records. Look at the exam records. When you're creating a new exam record, as you can see, this one comes automatically. It is required because of the master detail relationship with the exam record. So what I meant was that if you're making that lookup required, then it becomes a required lookup relationship, which is also a lookup, but doesn't have that properties of a lookup that makes it a lookup relationship. Lookup relationship is when it is not required to create a record. That field is not required to create a record. But if you're making it required, then it becomes an exceptional lookup relationship whereby the field is required to create a record.
Okay, so I get it, because you're saying that the objects can be independent in a lookup relationship, and if you make that field required, then it doesn't have that flexibility of being independent, right?
Yes, exactly.
All right, thank you.
No worries. Abisoye, please.
Hi, Babatope. Okay, a quick question, please. I noticed that when we created the department objects, we did not put any record in it. But when we created a lookup relationship with the students, we imputed the department engineering. Now, I want to ask one question. When we impute that department, it reflects directly on the department object, right?
Yes. So the reason why, like when I was creating, I did not create a record in department object, but you realize that when I was creating the student, I was given that option to create new departments. So this option just literally is like creating a new department. It's like creating a new record called department. Then it automatically associates that department to this record. Do you get what I mean? Yes. So it's this one is equivalent to going to department objects and go to create a new record. Okay.
Okay, another way I was thinking was that in my department object, I could have a pick list of all the departments. So when I come to my student object, I would pick the student department from the pick list. That would also work in a lookup.
Then it's not a lookup, it's a pick list. Don't mistake pick list and lookup. Lookup is an object that is feeding the data. Pick list is you entering this one by one. With department, I can load department from any source. But with pick list, I have to define those data that will pop up. Remember, I define them in pick list. Okay. Yeah. Department object is different from field. When we're creating pick list, we're creating a field. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Does that help? Is everyone good? Okay, so this ends the relationship. When you get your projects, please don't tell me you don't know how to create a field. Don't tell me you don't know how to create a relationship, because I will ask you to create a relationship and to create a field in an object. All this stuff I just told you, watch this video over and over again to learn how to create a model, because you will need it for your projects. And this will be your interview questions. If you ever want to work as a Salesforce consultant, Salesforce BA, Salesforce admin, you need this class. Okay? This is a revision class. Watch the main video and watch this again to reinforce your knowledge. Okay? Let's quickly do the roll-up summary field. As you can see, I have students related to exam records. If I go to my students, I have this guy with 2 exam records. What is a roll-up summary? A roll-up summary is technically adding the records we have here. You can add the count of the records we have. Exam record, we have how many exam records? 2. A roll-up summary means that I'm adding all the records of the related objects. One of the related objects, I'm adding all the records into a field on the student object. Or I'm summing all the records in one field of the exam record into the student object. Let's quickly do that. I go to the student object and I click on the student object. I want to do what? I want to create a roll-up summary. It can only be created on the master side of a master detail relationship. It can only be created on the master side, not the student side. The master side, not the exam record, but the student object. Now I click on new and I click on roll-up summary. What does it say? It says a read-only field that displays a sum, min, or max value of a field related. What is a field? A field is a field that we created on an exam record. Related, student grade is a field on the exam record and is on the related on the student's objects. Related, okay? So now I go to roll-up summary and I go to next. I say total student grade. And what do I do with the total student grade? How do I calculate it? I'm summarizing the exam records and I click on sum and I'm saying the student grade is what I want to sum. I say the student grade is all I want to sum and I said, okay, that's it. This is what they call the total student grade. If I want to count the number of exam records, it's still the same thing, roll-up summary, the number of exam record. Number of exam records, okay? Number of exam record is still a roll-up summary, but this time around, what am I going to select? Count. And I select count and I save. If I want to find the maximum grade, the best grade of the students, I can just, the best student grade is still what? A roll-up summary, but this time around, it's going to select the best grade out of all the student records, the max, okay? I'm selecting the best grade out of all the students' grade. That's what a roll-up summary is. It gives you value from the related. It gives you the value from the related objects, but it puts it on the master. Can you see the best grade is 95? The best grade is 95, okay? We cannot see that here, but as you can see, the best grade is 95, okay? And if you go back again, the total grade is 180%. Total exam record is 2. So now, if I create another exam record for these students, and I'm going to say in mathematics, this student got 100, okay? Save. So the count is now 3. Mathematics is 100. Go to details. Best grade is 100. Count is 3. Total is 280. This is the benefit of the roll-up summary. It gives you value from a related object and it brings it to the master object. Okay, so does anyone have any questions regarding roll-up summary before we go to the next item? Please drop all your hands and tell me if you have any questions regarding roll-up summary before we go to the next item, please. So I'm just going to call the new people. Desire, unmute yourself and speak, please.
How do you find the average grade?
So this is where the formula comes in. Total students, total score is 280. Exam record is 3. What is the average? The average is total divided by the count. Again, you go to students. This is where the formula comes in, right? New, you select what? Formula, because you want to use the total divided by the count. Okay, I'll just say average grade is a percent. Okay, percent, because I'm using 2 percentages. Okay, then I go to next. In the student object, I want the total students, insert operator, which is divide by the number of exams taken. That is the average grade. Okay, that is what a formula is used for. It is used when you already know the things you are using. You cannot use a formula to predetermine the future. You need to know what the values of those fields you're using to get the formula. So if you go back to this and you refresh, you will see the average. Okay, where's I believe we end this really. Okay, yeah, the average should pop up. But let's go to another student. Let's go to this student. Let me check the page layout. Student. And let's check if we have the average. Yes, we have the average, okay? So definitely the average should pop up, okay? It's just taking a bit of time because sometimes it's system administrator. You will see the average. Just 1 minute. Yeah, it's there. So if you refresh this page, maybe after a while, it should come up. But I can just create another exam record just to kick in a new stuff within the system. So I'll call this biology. And I say this is 89. Save. Go to details. Just refresh this page, or I can log out and log in and it's going to pop up, okay? We can come back to this in the next 1 minute. Let's go to something else.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Let's go to something else, and that will be our last class session for the night. The next thing I want to show you in this is, although we cannot go to the Lightning application development, but I need to show you what they call a record type because it's very important. What are record types in Salesforce? The best way to explain what record types are is using this chart, okay? So can you guys see the chart I have right now? We have what they call, let's say, a monthly expenditure. This is an object. What are monthly expenditure according to a business? Monthly expenditure according to a business could be loan, grocery, miscellaneous, or school. These are the type of monthly expenditure. In Salesforce, you can automatically group different types of monthly expenditure. That record you create for monthly expenditure is called the record types. The record types is just a type of record. The record type is a type of record. Let's see how this comes into play. I'm going to create a new object called monthly expenditure. Okay, and obviously, is it going to be monthly expenditures? I'm not too sure. I'm going to just click on save. Now we've created a monthly expenditure. Okay, and within monthly expenditure, I want to create, I'll just say, what is this stuff saying? Loan, grocery, miscellaneous, school. I will create record types. Before I do that, I will create loan options. I'll call it pick list. Okay. I'll call it loan options. And I'll just say student loan, mortgage loan, credit card loan. Okay. This is loan option. Okay. And no, don't let me call it loan option. I'll call it options. I'll call it monthly expenditure options. Okay. Monthly expenditure option. Okay. So now I save. Okay. I save. And I go to monthly expenditure option. I create a new option. Remember, I have grocery. So grocery could be milk, sugar, biscuit, and that. Okay. What do I have for miscellaneous? Miscellaneous could be just cinema and could be transportation. These are the types of expenditure I'm having. Okay. School. What kind of monthly expenditure will be in school? Bus pass, travel card, school travel card, and I just save. Okay. So now in our monthly expenditure options, we have student loan, mortgage loan, credit card loan, milk, sugar, biscuit, cinema, transportation, bus pass, travel card. Okay. This is monthly expenditure objects. I need to bring monthly expenditure objects on these tabs. Okay. I need to bring it on these tabs. So what do I need to do? I go to tabs and I create new monthly expenditure tabs. And I go to next. Next, I want it to appear on all profile and I want it to appear on all application. I go to next. Okay. So now our monthly expenditure would appear on the tabs. Okay. Monthly expenditure will appear on the tabs. This is monthly expenditure. And when you're creating a monthly expenditure, you have new. You have January. Then you have all this option. Can you see? You have all this option. Okay. So why am I doing this? I want to explain what a record type is. A record type is a type of records. A record type is a type of a record. And if you're creating a monthly expenditure, that it is a loan. Okay, I'm creating a monthly expenditure that is a loan. In January, I can call it January loan expenditure, okay? Or if I'm just creating a record, it's a loan. How many options do I have for loan? I have student loan, mortgage loan, credit card loan. Other things, other options, they are irrelevant to loan. The only thing I need to select if I'm creating a monthly expenditure for loan is student loan, mortgage loan, credit card loan. Other options here, they are irrelevant. They are irrelevant because they are not under loan. Okay? Record types helps you to minimize the chances of you entering a wrong value when you're creating a loan monthly expenditure. The record type would help you to minimize all these options and only focus on the loan monthly expenditure. When it is a grocery monthly expenditure, you don't need loan. The only thing you need is milk, sugar, and biscuits. So record type would help you remove all these options that are not needed for grocery. Similarly, if it is school, what do you need for school? The option you need is transportation, bus pass, school travel card. So you don't need all this stuff. You don't need sugar, milk, credit card, mortgage, student loan. You don't need that. When you're creating what? A school monthly expenditure. So how do you do that in Salesforce? Salesforce has what they call record types. Record types helps you to streamline what appears when you are creating a new record. It's just a way to make things cleaner, easier, better, so you don't make mistake when you're creating record. So what type of record do we want to create? We want to create what we have here: loan, grocery, miscellaneous, and school. Okay? The first thing is loan. This record types is a loan record type. Again, whenever you're creating any new thing, the first thing Salesforce asks you is, what profile do you want to show this stuff on? Meaning that if you don't want basic user to be able to select a loan record type, then you don't need to make it active for a basic user profile. If you don't want system admin to be able to select a loan record type, then don't show it. Okay, so now I click on next and I save, and I want to create a new one. The next record type I want to create is grocery. Okay, I click grocery. Then I want to make it available to all again, but again, you have to select what you want to make it available to. Okay, then I click on save and new. The next one I want to create is miscellaneous. Okay, miscellaneous, and I make it available to all profile again. But then again, you don't have to make it available to all profile. Okay, you only have to make it available to profile which the business has require you to make available to. And the last record type I want to create is school. Okay. Okay, I make it available to all profile, and I click on next, and I click on save. So next time I want to create a monthly expenditure, I can determine what would come up here based on the record type I have selected. So now, if you go to monthly expenditure, you click on edit options. No, you go to record types, sorry. You go to record types, and you say, whenever grocery is selected, what should be the option that should appear under grocery? I'm going to take off all this because the only thing we need when we select grocery is milk, sugar, and biscuits. Save. That's all. Go back to record type and select loan. What should be the option that should appear when loan is selected? The only thing we want is student loan, mortgage loan, and credit card loan. Then you click on save. That's all. Go back to record types. What should appear when miscellaneous is selected? The only thing that should appear is transportation. Then you save. Go back to record types. What should appear when school is selected? The only option that should appear is things that are related to school. Then transportation, bus pass, and school travel card. Then you save. Now you've seen that a record type is only used to minimize the option that would appear in the pick list value. Let's see that in play. I refresh this page. And now, anytime I want to create a new monthly expenditure, it's going to ask me, what type of monthly expenditure do you want to create? Is it loan? Is it grocery? Is it miscellaneous? Or is it school? You tell me what you want to create, and I will limit the option that would appear for you. I selected loan. Look at the option. The only thing that appears is student loan, mortgage loan, and credit card loan. If I click on new again, I select grocery. The only thing that should appear is milk, sugar, and biscuits. I click on new again. I select school. The only thing that should appear is things that are related to school. So record type in Salesforce helps you to minimize the things that would appear in the drop-down option of your pick list value. That's all you need for record types. There's more to record types, but this is the starting point. This is the starting point. So I'm going to take a pause here to find out if you guys understand this concept before we do one last thing and we end the class. Okay? So raise your hand up if you have any questions regarding record types and pick lists. And I'll call you to ask your question, please. That's good. It appears everyone understood the concept. Everyone understood the concept of record types, which is good. So now let's quickly do the last thing when it comes to record type, which is the page layout. Look at right now, we have one page layout assigned to all our record types. Previously, we said we can assign a page layout to a profile. We can also assign a page layout not only to a profile, but a record type. If you don't select a record type, which is the default settings, the master, it takes the default page layout. However, if you select grocery, you can determine the page layout you want to select whenever the record type is grocery. Similarly, if it is loan, you can determine the page layout to select. So all you just need to do is go to page layout, create new page layout, and call it grocery page layout. Okay, then you save. Once you save, then you can determine the fields that should appear in a grocery page layout. For instance, you can say, I don't want certain fields to appear in a grocery page layout. Similarly, you can create a new page layout and you call it school page layout. So anytime a school record type is selected, you can determine the types of fields that should appear in the school page layout for that record type. You go to layouts and you edit layout. Then you say, if it is grocery, if it is basic user, I want you to use grocery page layout. If it is basic user and it is loan, I want you to use loan. If it's miscellaneous, I want to use miscellaneous. If it is student, I want you to use students or school, sorry. Then you save. So now, anytime you select school record type, you have school pick list. You also have the school page layout. So record types helps you to control the pick list as well as the page layout for that record type. This is how you can start building applications in Salesforce. Salesforce gives you the tools out of the box to build applications, to control your objects, and to start creating things. This is getting started with Salesforce. Going after today, watch all the videos, and we're no longer going to be doing getting started with Salesforce again. We're going to be doing becoming a Salesforce administrator. We're going to be using everything we've learned from object to field to profile to fields to formula to start building application in Salesforce. So starting from tomorrow, we're no longer getting started, but we're now a Salesforce admin. We're becoming a Salesforce admin. So if you have gone through all this training up to now and you have no idea what I'm talking about, then maybe Salesforce admin is not for you. However, if you like what you've seen so far, you've heard so far, and you still want to continue, then Salesforce is admin for you. Okay, I have grouped all the standard user. If you're a standard on a standard package of a Salesforce admin, I have grouped you into a subgroup. Make sure you check your emails. It's very important. Don't miss the process. The process is very important. Some of you send message at the last minute after when you're about to prepare for certifications. That's where you realize that there was a group for you guys. Don't be that person. Check your email and you will see the group that you've been assigned to. Please join that group and make it interesting in that group. Because when it comes to work reference, I'll ask your group leader, has this guy participated in group discussion? Has this person been responsive to group? Your group leader will be the one writing your reference. I will not be the one writing your reference. The group leader, the mentors, the operations are the ones that will give me feedback about your performance. So if you feel like because you're a big person, you cannot talk in a group, forget it. You're not going to get reference from me. I'm very serious about it. If you seem very busy, you don't want to dedicate the next 3 months in this group, forget it. You cannot get reference from me. So you're just paying for learning's sake. You're not paying for the work experience. You're not paying for the experience that comes with the training. So please contribute to your group and make it lively. Make your group leader work easier. Don't frustrate your group leader, because your group leader are now giving me reports on a weekly basis about your performance. So if you have a group, you need to join it and you need to participate. For the professional people, I am going to send your group tonight or latest tomorrow morning. Make sure you check your email and be responsive. This is the beginning of the process. If you miss this, I'm sorry. You will call me, you will contact me, and I will ignore you. And I don't care if you pay 2.5 or not. I don't care. It's not about your money. It's about the process. The money, I can make that in a day or in a month. I don't care. But if you contribute to the process, you make my life easier and you make my own KPI easier. I'm working towards my own KPI. And it involves you to be committed. So don't give me excuses. When your group leader asks for a meeting, when your mentor asks for a meeting, make sure you turn up. Don't get frustrated because you don't see your clinic on your timetable. We've organized several sections for that. If you're still lost, that's your call. That's your responsibility to find out. Don't get upset about the operations. They've tried their best. So please follow the process. Please check your emails. Please read the WhatsApp at least once a day. That's your responsibility. That's what you sign up for. I want this training to be easier for you. I've given you everything it takes to become a successful Salesforce professional in 3 months. Now it's your responsibility to take that commitment and don't put it on the operation teams or don't put it on my own KPI. If I realize that you haven't joined your subgroup within 1 week, I will knock you off my KPI. I want to see the serious people get the 6-figure job in the next 3 months. If you're not serious, you're knocked off my KPI. And when auditing firms comes up and say, how many people get job within 3 months? I will tell them out of XYZ number of serious students, 80% got a job. I'm not going to say 100 people sign up and 2 people got a job. No, I would say 100 people sign up, 50 people were committed, and 40 people got a job. That's what I would say. So please try to check your emails every day. Try to check the WhatsApp once a day and be committed to the training. This is an adult school. It is not a child school where someone will be chasing you up and down. You pay because you have the money and the privilege to pay. Now you need to commit. You need to show that you care and you want to do this. Otherwise, it's just another training. Okay? So please try your best to commit for the next 3 months and let's see the outcome of this training. If you have 1 or 2 questions, please raise up your hand and we'll close this training in the next 2 to 3 minutes. Okay? I know we've gone past time, but I wanted to reinforce those learning objectives again before we end the class. So I'm going to close in the next 2-3 minutes. If you have any questions, please raise your hand and let's quickly address it. Shema, unmute yourself and speak, please.
Hi, Babatope. So my question is on when you were doing the page layouts, the last thing you did. So I thought it was standard practice for you to clone a particular layout. And if it's not standard practice, I saw you missed a step in both of them. You just went down to naming them. Now, if it is not standard practice, when do I need to clone a particular one or go directly just the way you did it? The first options that came when you were creating, you missed that step. You just went down to the next one. Yes.
Yeah,
this
so
place.
it's a standard process to actually clone an existing because it gives you a foundation to build on. Because the existing profile, the page layout would have all the fields. Then you can start removing fields. However, if you don't clone an existing one, you will be the one dragging those fields on the page layout, which is a longer process. Okay, so if you want to remove fields, just clone an existing one and it becomes easier. However, if you want to drag fields and you're okay with that, then just start afresh and you drag those fields onto the page layout. Okay?
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. No worries. Joy, unmute yourself and speak, please.
Okay. Good evening, sir. So I'm going to ask as regards the grouping, am I allowed to?
Sorry?
I want to ask as regards the grouping you just talked about. Am I allowed to?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah.
Okay. I have joined one, but I'm wondering, is there going to be another one? And that one I joined, it seems it's based on the professional subscription we did. And so far, nothing has been said yet because classes haven't even started. So is there going to be another one from what you said again, like mails will come out again for another group or rather be sent out?
Yeah, as I said, the professional would have a subgroup. Everyone, standard or professional, you're supposed to be in a group of 10 or 8 to 10. Okay, so the professional will group you based on your domain specific area, but you're still going to be assigned to a subgroup whereby within a team of 10 people, you are working on your project together and you'll be working for the success of the team. So the group leader will be leading and you will be discussing how to make a Salesforce career the next phase of your career. Okay, so please watch out for that. If you're in a professional group, you will get an email from me tomorrow about your subgroups, but make sure you join those groups and you can start talking about the future, about projects, about issues like this. That's the only way you can learn faster. Also, there will be a dedicated mentor for any group. So you don't have to be waiting on clinics or tutorial before you get your issue resolved. Just call a mentor and the mentor will come to help you out. You have at least maybe twice a week you have 2 hours with a mentor. Whatever issue you have, you can call your mentor and they would help you. Okay, so please look out for that and everyone should make sure they join that subgroup. If you are in a Salesforce admin program right now and you're not in a subgroup, you are going to be missing out. And obviously, in as much as you don't have a work experience in future, you might need something. And I will ask, what group do you belong? And I ask your group leader, what was your contribution in the group? If she says or he says no, then we're going to have a problem. Okay, so please try to join your group and let's make it a rewarding training experience. Okay, I think that's all from me. Is there any other question before we close for tonight?
Oh, so I was going to say, so that one we've joined, in the meantime, like as I said, nothing has been said. We should just stay put in that one pending when classes start, right?
That is just for you guys to communicate. You know, I don't want developers to be talking about code in a professional distance.
General, okay.
You might not know what they're talking about. Same with BA, same with consultant. It will get to that stage whereby everybody will talk in Chinese. And I don't want a case whereby someone will say, oh, when did you say that? Meanwhile, it's relevant to just developers. Okay, that's the idea. So, like, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Okay, no problem. Guys, all the best. Good luck with your training and everything you're doing. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everyone.